I was on BBC's World Have Your Say yesterday. I was really impressed. They let Occupy Cleveland be represented. They had 4 people in there, and you know, that's an internationally broadcast show. And I think that that's a really strong show of solidarity from the BBC to at least let people come on and be part of a really well-renowned show.
You were getting phone calls from all around the world, I heard.
Yeah, we really didn't get to talk to anyone. It's a very conversational show that's facilitated by the host. But I did, you know, I was like in the studio when a man from Cairo, a DJ from Cairo, called in, and he was talking about his experience in Tahrir Square, and he was talking about this song that he put out after the revolution, about how the revolution wasn't over, that was just the beginning. And he was also talking a little bit about how he wasn't able to release any music like that because, you know, you can't do that kind of thing. You can't say anything subversive. You can hardly say anything. And similarly, a story from another DJ from Chicago who was born in Libya was talking about the kind of music that is produced in Libya. The only music really that they're allowed to produce in Libya, or that they were allowed to produce, was praising the leader, you know, praising Gaddafi. And even music about like daily life was censored, and people were punished for producing music like that. So it was a very interesting experience being on an internationally broadcast show, people listening in Africa, people listening in Nigeria, people listening like all over the world. I was very humbled by the experience.
Yeah, well, it was great, and I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm going to go home, and it's somewhere online.
It was a good conversation about protest music. They had the CEO of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there, and he had some interesting things to say. There's a lot of history with protest music, obviously, what do they call it? It's like gospel music and stuff like that from prior to the civil rights movement, prior to like, you know, Bob Dylan, guys like that, what protest music really looked like back then, and it was the kind of music that was, the message was very vague and accessible to everybody because it had to be toned down. It couldn't be an overt message, you know, it would cause too many waves.
You need to give me a new direction in music and art instead of just saying nothing. People are going to start getting more conscious with their art and how important that is, because, I mean, personally, I'm sick of just love songs and dumb music and dumb parties.
Well, you know, the conversation that my friend, my bandmate and I were having with the gentleman from the BBC who invited us to come into the studio, we didn't get to say much of what we were talking to him about on the air, but we were talking to him about the culture of DIY that stems from the punk movement in the 80s, and we both kind of agreed that anymore the biggest act of protest you can do is to exist outside the mainstream and exist outside those love songs and all that stuff that is just so watered down and commodified by commercial capitalism, you know, the kind of stuff that they're selling an image rather than selling music. And what we believe in is a DIY community, a do-it-yourself community, independent artists, independent labels, independent distribution, and those channels, that's like the only thing to really have any genuine feeling for the music anymore, and it's really the only way to feel the music anymore, I think.
Yeah, I just got done with my new song called Stuff, and I was working on it before this whole thing broke out and everything, and I just made a music video, because I've been an artist all my whole life, and I'm giving it away, and I want to say something in my art.
Yeah.
And I quit playing bars because I don't want to wind up being a court jester for the king to sell beer and wings and, you know, and then DWIs, you know, because everybody makes money off the bar. From the cops, from the Budweiser man to the wing dating man, you know what I mean? So everybody can get, you know, intoxicated so they can feel good about themselves because they have to be so depressed. What do you think about that?
Right on, brother. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, existing outside of that, forming your own community and performing for your friends and family, and performing for the people who you love, the people who you support, and the people who support you. That's what's important to me. You know, when you get money involved with art, it becomes disingenuous to me. And it's really hard. It's a hard line to walk as an artist because you have to survive somehow.
Right.
There's that old cliche about the starving artist.
Right.
And especially with subversive art, you have to make a compromise. If you're trying to exist in the mainstream but be subversive, you have to compromise your message with what's acceptable.
Right.
And another thing I would say about art in this day and age is like we're in like late postmodernism where everything has been seen. Nothing seems new to anybody. Nothing surprises anybody, and nothing really impresses anybody anymore. So it's really hard to make an impactful statement.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because just everybody, especially in the art world, has this kind of snotty attitude about like that's
Right.
nothing new. I've seen this before.
Well, I have Bill Graham, the great concert promoter, wrote on Carlos Santana's liner notes one time, which album it was. And it was an anonymous quote, "Music is the voice of the oppressed people around the world."
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, the host, Roz, for World Have Your Say, yesterday, they received, for their theme, they were talking about protest music on the show yesterday, and he received an email from Yoko Ono, and what she had to say about music was that music is still the most powerful vibration we have to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And because it speaks to something, it speaks with more than just words. It communicates more than words alone.
Right.
It communicates a feeling.
Yes, it does.
And that's something that can't really be misinterpreted per se. It's something that's felt and interpreted on a really subjective level, and I think that's what makes music really special because people can relate to it in their own way.
Right. Well, in my life, when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, a kid in the ghetto of Cleveland, you know, that was all around me was racism and hate and ignorance, you know what I mean? And rock and roll gave me my education, because I'm a high school dropout, dude.
Same here.
And, you know, it really did. John Lennon helped me to be a man, to be a young man.
Right on.
You know what I mean? You know, Steppenwolf, Monster, I mean, all that music. Then it got dumbed down because corporate got a hold of it, then it went to disco.
Yeah, corporate ass rock.
Yeah, right, right. And, sir, what's your name, my brother?
Benjamin.
And what's the name of your band?
It's kind of evolving right now. We're changing the lineup. We're not really playing out anymore. We're back to just kind of figuring out what we're doing. So it's an evolving thing.
Right, I hear you. Same here. Well, hey, brother, God bless you. And dates from downtown Occupy.